Okay, picture this. You get a phone call from your child's school. They tell you there was, an incident, but don't worry, it's all been handled. Well, the specific words they choose in that call, they can be the difference between protecting your child and literally signing away their rights. We're going to break down exactly why.
So, yeah, this is the call you get. Some administrator on the line says they've addressed a peer conflict situation and that the matter is resolved. And your first reaction? Probably relief, right? Oh, good, they took care of it. But that phrase, peer conflict, it isn't just a description, it's a legal landmine. And if you're not careful, it's designed to blow up your child's legal protection. So let's pull back the curtain on this phrase. This isn't just about semantics or a poor choice of words. No, this is a deliberate strategy, and you need to know what it is. It's the peer conflict trap. The tactic has a name. It's called definitional downgrading. This is not a misunderstanding on the school's part. It is a strategic, calculated move to take something serious, like bullying or even assault, and relabel it with a legally meaningless term. And the goal? It's simple: to completely eliminate the school's legal duty to do anything about it. Just look at this table. It shows you exactly what's on the line. If an incident is called bullying or harassment, look at that. It triggers a whole cascade of legal requirements for the school. Investigations, safety plans, documentation, the whole shebang. Same for assault. But look at the bottom row. When they call it peer conflict, nothing. Absolutely nothing. The legal requirement to investigate, to document, to protect your child, it just vanishes. So let's be crystal clear about this. The bottom line is, when you hear that phrase, the school, is not trying to describe what happened. They are making a legal maneuver to wipe their hands of any and all responsibility for your child's safety. So, how does this actually play out in the real world? It's fascinating and a little terrifying. Let's look at a tale of two calls. We're talking about the exact same phone call from the school, but with two completely different responses from the parents, leading to two drastically different futures for their kids. On the left, you've got the parent who does what most of us would do. They accept the school's language. Thank you for taking care of it, right? Seems reasonable. But on the right, you have a parent who immediately, right there on the phone, stops the conversation cold. I need to stop you there. This is not peer conflict. They immediately reclassify it with the correct legal term and state, I'm sending a written complaint. One response is passive. The other is a powerful, strategic countermove. And the results? They're absolutely devastating. The parent who accepts, well, they've unknowingly lost their rights. So when the behavior escalates and their child is physically assaulted 2 weeks later, the school's record shows this assault as the quote-unquote first incident. Why? Because all the previous weeks of bullying were legally erased as conflict. But the parent who rejects, they protected their child's rights. The record now shows a clear, documented pattern of escalating harm that the school knew about. That pattern establishes foreseeability, and that means the school is liable. Let's just spell it out. Here is what you give up when you accept that term. You let the school completely erase the legal classification of what happened. You let them sidestep a mandatory investigation. You let them off the hook for documenting anything. And the two big ones, you prevent them from tracking a pattern of behavior, and you completely destroy their legal liability by letting them claim they had no idea things were this serious.
Okay, so we see the trap. It's real and it's dangerous. The big question is, what do you do about it? How do you fight back? Well, it turns out there is a very specific, and I mean very urgent, timeline for action. This is the number. This is the one you have to burn into your memory. 72 hours. From the second you hang up that phone, a clock starts ticking. You have 72 hours to fix the record before it's set in stone. And here's why that window is so unbelievably critical. In those first 24 hours, the incident report, it's probably just a draft on someone's computer. It's easy to correct. By 48 hours, okay, it might be finalized in the school system, but you can still probably get it amended. But after 72 hours, that report is often distributed, filed, and for all intents and purposes, locked. The school's initial classification is now the official story, and the burden of proof to change it, it shifts entirely onto you. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to get in there and impose the correct legal standard before the school's version of the story gets permanently cemented into the official record. So how do you actually do that? Don't worry, we've got you. Let's dive into the playbook. This is your precise, step-by-step strategy for what's called a reclassification demand. It all breaks down into 5 incredibly powerful steps. And you do it all in a single email. First, you reject their label. Second, you classify the conduct correctly using the law. Third, you state the legal implications of that classification. Fourth, you demand written confirmation. And fifth, you warn them of what happens next if they don't comply. Reject, classify, state, demand, warn. Your response has to be in writing. An email is perfect. And it has to start with this exact, unambiguous, non-negotiable statement. You are not asking, you're not suggesting, you are formally rejecting their classification. This creates a legal, time-stamped record of your dissent. It's your first move on the board. Next, you don't just complain, you take control of the narrative. You replace their vague term with the correct legal one. You don't just say, I think this was bullying. No, you state, this conduct meets the legal definition of bullying, and you actually cite the specific state education code or the federal law that applies. This shows them you've done your homework. Then you create immediate accountability. You tell them what their obligations are. You say, under the code I just cited, you are now legally required to start a formal investigation. And here's the crucial part. You put them on a deadline. Please provide written confirmation by, and give them a date, 48 hours from now, that this incident has been reclassified. This move prevents them from just deleting your email and hoping you'll go away. And that final step, the escalation warning, that's the checkmate. You clearly state that if they fail to comply, you will be taking your complaint to the district superintendent, the State Department of Education, or the Office for Civil Rights. This isn't an emotional threat. It's a calm, strategic move that signals to the administration, I know the rules of this game, and I am not backing down. So let's bring this all home. At the end of the day, this whole battle, all these steps, all these strategies, it really boils down to one single, fundamental concept. This right here says it all. The fight for your child's safety, for their rights, it's won or it's lost in those first 72 hours. And the weapon you use is language. The battlefield itself is just the words used to define what happened. And that's what you're really fighting for. Because those words, they are not just words. They are triggers. They determine which school policies suddenly apply, which investigation timelines officially begin, and most important of all, which state and federal civil rights protections actually get attached to your child. So, the next time that phone rings and you hear those magic words, pure conflict, just remember this. The school has already chosen its words. They chose them strategically. They chose them with purpose. The only question left is, will you be prepared to choose yours?